Placements because of
Cut the grass.
shoreline zoning.
Approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Tracy. Second from Jared. Any changes or anything? I don't think we have anything that changed today that I know of. All those in favor then say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, our minutes from the February 7th. Are we recording or did I start too soon?
No, you're good.
Okay. Got to ask, sorry. Approval of our minutes from the February 7th meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. Is there a second? Second from Doug, all right. Hearing no changes or anything, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Public comment? None? Easier for Eureka for number 6, so we're good there. We have no other. No, we don't have another supervisor here. So number 6, sir, come on up. Give us what your little background on why you're up here and stuff, and where do you go?
Morning, everyone. My name is Bill Mawson and from the County of Eureka, and I'm supervisor there. And I want to thank you for letting me be here this morning. And I've been hearing some rumors that possibly we're going to have wind generators and people trying to bring wind generators into the town of Eureka and parts of Milltown. I've been trying to find out what the company is that's interested in doing this. So far, I haven't had any luck. I'm hoping some of you people might have heard something and maybe have know what company is doing that and wanting to do that. But a few years back that they had, Centuria was going to be getting some wind generators in their area and they didn't want them. They got a conditional use permit going and for some reason they left and never commented the reason why they didn't continue on with it. And I don't know the whole, that happened. I moved here in 1987 and I think that was possibly maybe before I was here and I don't remember seeing it. And I'm not very familiar with a lot of things that happened in this area because I was gone more than I was here because I was a rodeo cowboy and I didn't spend a lot of time in Wisconsin. I was rodeoing someplace else. So everybody talks about all the roads and this and that and everything else like that. I'm not really that familiar with all the roads and everything else. But when I heard about this and I started talking to people about it and other people who have heard about it have also called me from different towns in the area and wondering what we're going to do about it. And so far, the comments that I've been getting is they hope we fight like hell and don't have any wind generators sticking up in the air. Them windmills that we used to have on all of our farms around when we were growing up were picturesque. These wind generators are a long ways from picturesque. So as the comments were coming to me, I've yet to have one person said they wanted one in their front yard. I've had not one person, even from out of the town of Eureka. I've had several from Milltown and I've had several from Balsam Lake said that they didn't want them either. So I'm mainly trying to get this going. And so if anybody hears of anything about it, I'd sure like to know about it. And right now, people that's commenting to me, especially in Eureka, don't want wind generators sitting in their front yard. And if you look at what's happening with Iowa right now and all the wind generators and the junkyards that's cropping up all over from the junk that they get around because they're breaking down, they can't get parts, can't get anybody to even work on them and fix them. Why do we want wind generators here? We don't have enough wind here in Polk County to even make it profitable. those people that are building these wind generators are getting subsidized by the federal government and maybe the state government, I don't know that for sure. But right off the bat, before they even start building it, they've already got their money off, they want off it, and they're already making money. And after they get it built, they don't care what happens after that anyhow. So they're not in the business of making money off the wind generators, they're making money off the money they get subsidized by the federal government. And I don't think that could be, I don't think Henry Ford got subsidized when he started inventing cars and building cars, and I don't think the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and all the rest of those people got subsidized when they started to go business. They had to either make it on their own or not make it at all. So anyways, that's all I have to do. If you got any questions from me, I'd be happy to answer. And if I got the answer, I'll give it to you. And if I don't, I'll find it out and give you the right answer, hopefully. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, because I think your office hasn't received anything or any of these, have they? Yeah. So if there is, maybe we'll send something out or something to all the towns.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you. All right. First update, we're at 20.
Want me to go?
Sure. There's the farmland preservation update. That,
That was moved to April.
all right, so number 8's April. Yes, can we get yours done before the public hearing?
What time is that, at 9:30?
9:30.
We can do that.
Yeah, let's go in and do your updates and stuff.
Sounds good. And you guys got maps and stuff in the packet? I'm not sure if you'd be able to share some of the maps on there, from the packet for forestry stuff. Just for others to have visual if we don't have it. All right, so we'll start with kind of our tree planting schedule. What we got going on this spring. Just as a update and discussion. Just that about a month ago put out bids for tree planting contracts for 71,200 trees. So we're gonna be planting 55,000 red pine, 60,200 jack pine, which jack pine are our seed source that we collected in the last few years. The bids came in. I had the bid closed on Monday, and our lowest bid was from Superior Forestry for $66.77 an acre. So total cost over that amount of trees and over 95 acres, it's going to be just over 6,300. So pretty fairly priced for the amount of work that they're going to be doing out there. Had two other bids from one from Mustang Forestry at 68 an acre. And then Great Lakes Forestry was 112 and some change an acre, so substantially higher. So I did award the Superior Forestry yesterday for that bid amount. So that's who we'll be working with. I think the last two planting contracts for Polk County in 21 and 19 were with Superior as well. So pretty reputable company. They're out of Arkansas, but they run crews throughout the whole Midwest and East and South United States. So we'll be coordinating when the trees are ready to pick up at PRT and Hayward Nursery. And I'll order a reefer truck to pick them up, and we'll be parking a reefer in town of Sterling for keeping the trees cool during the contract period. So hopefully that all lines up smoothly, and Paul will be there helping me too with the compliance of the planting contract. So but we have 4 different areas that we'll be planting. And 3 areas, 1, 2, and 3, those are all what we distrenched and site prep with herbicide this last year. And then area 4 is a replant from 2021. It was distrenched in 2020, planted with jack pine and a lot of deer browse issues on that one. So we probably lost greater than 50% of our trees from deer browse and damage. So we're going to supplement that one with just over 5,000 trees to try to get it back to where to. So yeah, and then I guess you could kind of go through the specific areas, Claire. Just go to the next page, just some reference maps of kind of what we're doing. So area 1, 27 acres. So that's just trench site this last year. So we'll be putting red pine in there, and there's the specs in the unit description or for each area is seen below in the maps. So, and these maps are part of our contract too. So that's how we will manage it with the contract crews. So you can go to the next one. Area 2. This one, same thing, got distrenched this last year. Actually got harvested and then distrenched within a few months. So this is a quick turnaround planting. We're putting jack pine in this this unit here. So go to the next one. So we got area 3, 34 acres. Same thing, got distrenched and herbicides site prepped. We'll have all red pine going into that. And then area 4, the last one, that is the unit that will be supplementing. That was planted 3 years ago and we adding a little bit extra. So, and we have the unit description and specs that we want from the contractors for that unit. So any questions on the planting program or contract itself?
Are they gonna get in early because of the summer?
Potentially, yeah, probably early April. So the contract start date's April 5th at minimum.
Okay,
Could be subject to change slightly, maybe a few days. But that's our typical window is April 5th, first week of April to last week of May. So they
okay,
have that month and a half to fulfill our service,
sure.
their service. And then and then we'll probably, just because of the amount of deer browse issues we do have in Sterling, on planted trees, I'll probably do a bud capping contract in the fall. So essentially they're stapling papers on the terminal bud on the top so that when the deer browse in the winter / spring on pine, then we have the first year bud getting chewed off for next year when it starts regrowing. So that's what kicks them back quite a few years or completely kills them. So
Okay.
Try to prevent any mortality on our asset. So, but yeah, deer do cost money, to say the least. So that's all I have. I don't know if you guys.
Anyone else? Questions on the plantings? To the next.
Yeah, so we'll go to timber sales. So we're gonna have 5 timber sales coming up for bid. And we're looking at I'll probably advertise these timber sales end of this month. And it'll go through April 30th will be the bid opening. So we look at May 1st, first committee meeting to be approval of timber sales by you guys. And that's kind of the current plan. So we got 3 sales in town of Sterling. So those are mostly oak, jack pine, clear cut timber sales. One ATV dune South Evergreen there was scarified this last year. So natural regen of jack pine, a little bit cheaper site prep cost to get trees back. And then head scratcher might be a potential planting site. And then itchy ivy will probably be planted too. So those will be areas that we'll see in the future, or you guys might see in the future on here for our planting program. And then the other 2 sales are up in Connors Lake. Those will be pretty big, or at least Creepy Crow is going to be a pretty big timber sale there. So those 2 are accessed off Highway E. pretty close to where we're currently working. We can go into, there's mostly just informative. No approvals or anything need to be done with this stuff. That wouldn't be until the opening. So
No, after the
this
business,
is,
yeah,
yep.
okay.
Yeah, so these are the maps and that will go out to bid, and then supply the bid, bid results and who we'd like to award in May. So if you have any particular questions on what we're doing or what sales we are, just let us know. But the total advertised price between all 5 sales is just over 127,000. So last year we had a pretty good bid openings from what was advertised. So we're hoping to see that number be higher. So yeah. I don't know if you want to go through, you guys have any questions? Otherwise, these sales will just be.
I don't know. Any questions? I mean, we won't have any till they come back with the bid, I would imagine.
What's that?
Not till the bids come back and then we'll.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey, then, okay,
Um,
good there.
Then we go to the annual report.
Yeah, let's do the annual. In April, for goodness sakes, that's pretty early for him.
I had it ready a while ago. Then I had a baby, so. Hey. So 2023 annual report. We'll jump over to the first page. There. So I guess we'll just kind of start. A lot of this stuff is cookie cutter language of what we've had for the last lot of years, at least in terms of organization and responsibilities. But just so everybody's aware, we do have just over 17,000 acres county forest. Our current yearly, we update our annual harvest goal, which is our sustainable harvest with the state and with our own inventory is 426 per year. That fluctuates. I think last year was 401, so it depends on our harvest schedule and regime. And yeah, that's about it for the first part, but we can kind of go through 2023, kind of our successes, where we're at financially too. So 2023 county forest revenues were $139,087 or $87.35. Total, that's just regular stumpage, not including town severance, etc. We had 6 timber sales representing 326 acres completed in 2023, so harvested and submitted to the state that they were complete. 4 timber sales over 316 acres that we sold, which was last year's bid opening. The minimum advertised price was just over 95,000, and we sold them for 213,000. So that was a good year. Established 221 acres over five timber sales this last year. So with a minimum value of 56,000 and some change. So currently, at least as of 1/2, so just January 2nd, we had just over 232,000 on the books. Today, just looked this morning, about 169,000 on the books. So that's how much, so roughly 70,000 that we've had paid since January 2nd. So we did have two sales active this winter. So still have quite a bit on the books and stuff adding to our pot here in a month or two. So I had 10 firewood permits issued and 1 Christmas tree permit for $205. We completed just over Yeah, 1,588 acres of forest inventory across our stands. 79 acres of disc trench and herbicide for the planting for this year. It's done. 21 acres of jack pine those are scarified. So that was a one timber sale that we're selling. So hoping to get some good natural regen on that one. So we don't have to supplement plant. We did red and jack pine plantations survival surveys. So this is less than 5-year-old stands that have been planted on 609 acres just to see what kind of mortality and browse issues and success we have. We do have competition issues, hazel and oak stuff too, that forest regeneration. Paul and I built a 3/4 acre deer exclosure in town of Sterling, just off of Bear Track Fire Lane. There's one that was already planted and has a lot of deer browse, so we'll have a pretty good idea of what that change will be on leaving the deer out of there for a few years. So we'll have browse already planted, established stuff on the outside of the fence, and then the inside was browse. We'll see how they're gonna release. We do have materials from that grant that we're gonna do one this spring/summer post planting, so that we have a data set of trees that have not been touched versus outside the fence. They're gonna be open for deer browse issues. So I think that'll be a nice little spot to show people where we're having issues with deer out there. So and we do have a deer exclosure fence out on an oak shelter wood up in town of Lorraine as well, north of W. And that one was put in 2022. So continuing to maintain those every so often, every month or two, we got to come in there because some deer or something tries to run through the fence and breaks that 8-foot deer fence netting. So, and all this was supplemented by a sustainable forestry grant. So I spent the rest of the money to buy more materials. So that's why we built the one. Mark got the grant, I think, in 2021, and then got enough to build another 1/2 acre to 1 acre fence. So successfully applied and enrolled in the Lake State Forest Management Habitat Conservation Plan. Not too much of an update there. I do have to do an annual report of our activities on the forest. So I just submitted that earlier this week to the HCP coordinator. Just what we are doing in terms of total harvest numbers, harvest acres, if we built any road or trail construction. So everything's good so far in terms of compliance on our end. So we don't trigger anything that would be non-compliant to that. So don't plan on it either. So successfully planned and worked with the internal external partners and secured that $316,000 grant for ATV use area. So I know they're implementing that and working on that now up in Sterling. We completed a grant that I applied for, County Conservation Aid grant. It's a $100,000 total grant allotment with a $50,000 match or 50-50 match. And that's how we completed the D.D. Kennedy resurfacing. And then I also I added one road and parking lot. It was always used as one, but did not have any gravel or anything. So I fixed that on just north of W. And then also 2 other Ice Age Trail parking lots that didn't have any rock. We added some maintenance to that. So I used that grant to help supplement that. So that was just over a $6,000 project, and then state reimbursed $3,000. But so got a half off maintenance on our project there. And then also got a grant for urban forestry grant. Polk County's never received before. I foresee us using it 1 or 2 more times in the future, that grant, but we used it for Apple River Park and Campground. to remove hazard trees within the campsites. And that just got completed a month or two ago with coordination with parks, so.
Is that a matching grant?
Yeah, so it was $10,000 total project cost and then
Okay.
50% match, yeah, so county paid 5 and then the state paid 5.
Sure.
And I just sent in for the grant reimbursement last week, so should see that funding coming back into parks here shortly.
Okay.
So, we can only, that's a unique grant to where probably can only apply for it one more time. There's 2 years that you can, they have one called the regular grant and one called like startup grant. The urban forestry program wants you to become an urban forest program at some point, so they cut you off. If you don't become a system that has a strict inventory, et cetera. So can be more particular to like city centers and villages,
Sure.
but they'll help supplement. It's a startup grant. I talked to them and told them Apple River is it's not your typical property that we can just come in and log. We've had a hard time getting anybody to want to dink around with the utilities and stuff there. Just because of hazards, their own liability. So they were good with supplementing us for a couple of years to try to get some trees down in there for safety purposes. So
Okay.
probably apply for it again next year, and then that might be it. So we'll go to the financial report. The total stumpage, gross receipts of timber sale revenue that came in was $139,087.35. So the payout to the towns, the severance payment, 30% severance to the towns was $41,726.19. And then timber sale revenue to the county was $97,361.16. As you move down in the revenues, there's a state aid there. So the state aid is a portion of my admin grants and also grant reimbursements, like the 50/50 or whatever grant I had last year that got reimbursed as a revenue. So that's all the state aid added there. And then the firewood Christmas trees, $205. So total revenues, $187,002.87. Expenses, don't have to go through line item of those unless there's some questions there. We had obviously an uptick in reforestation costs compared to last year's report, just because of disc trench and ordering trees, buying trees. I had to pay for half the trees, so I'll be paying for the other half from the nursery that we use this year. And then, the disc trench and site prep is the bulk of that cost, maybe just over half. Let's see, so total operating expenses, $131,536.88. And our last page is just, I know I brought this to you guys in February, before we even cut the checks, but this was the 30% severance payment to towns that we give out. And I know you guys have known that 10% is a state statute required by the county for us to pay to the towns, and we pay 30%. So it's just a breakdown there, and for a total of $41,726.19. So I do expect revenues to probably kick back up compared to this last year. I know 2 years ago, or when I started that fall, my first report had a pretty good year, and surplus this year was kind of not slow, but we just had a lot of sales get done when I started, and now we'll be kicking back up again. So yeah, and that's it. Are there any questions on those? No?
Oh, you got off easy. We're good.
Did I get off time? Minute late?
30 seconds over.
All right.
get you on that next time.
So I'll see you guys in May.
Okay,
Should be good.
should have bids for May, so we'll make sure that's on there.
Yep. And hopefully planting season's done.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Too much.
All right.
Too much.
Then we're still good to just do the recording through this instead of the recorder, right? We've
I
been doing
think
that.
so.
Okay.
Or I think that, Malia, we're all right doing that, not having that little tape thing, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, don't you think it's better
Yeah.
quality too? So,
It's better.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yes, then we're good. So let's open this, Nick Walton Properties. Yep, we want to read that in then.
Bet. All right, Nick Walton Properties LLC requests a conditional use permit application to operate a non-metallic mine on a property located in section 23, town 34 north, range 17 west of the town of Balsam Lake. The parcel number is 006-00647-0000. And this is a 40-acre parcel. I believe Claire has the parcel up here on the screen showing that 40-acre parcel. We did receive two exhibits. Both of them were in opposition to the proposed non-metallic mine. I believe you guys did receive those comments. I apologize, they were a little late to get sent to you guys, but I think we did pass out hard copies as well. We did notice or sent the notice to the town of Balsam Lake. We did not receive any comments from them. This property was rezoned in January 16th of 2024. And there is a reclamation plan, which is also part of the hearing today. And the end goal of that reclamation plan for this property is passive recreation. There is a dwelling that is on the site. But there is also the closest dwellings not on the property are down in the southwest corner here. I believe they're both about 900 feet from that southwest property line corner. And then if you could go into some pictures, Claire. So there were a few pictures I took out there yesterday, I believe. And yeah, if you want to go back to that first one. So this one's looking back towards the town road. So this is just the driveway into that current dwelling. So this would be a road out to access the town road for the driveway. Next, please. This is just kind of a view looking over that current grassland alongside the garage that's out there. Next one. This picture is trying to capture, so there is a power line that runs on the north side of this property. So that's what this picture is showing. It does run the length of the property. It is probably better to see on aerial as well. But yeah, so this would be looking to the west in this picture. This is going kind of up the hill to at least where the proposed phase one would start. Just showing the current land in that area. This is the grassland portion. Other picture showing the current field. Looking back towards the dwelling that's on the property. And this is a picture looking west down the road from 130th Street. So this is that 145th Avenue, which is a town road. It is a gravel road, dead end road. And this is just not a great picture of the intersection, but this is where 145th meets the 130th or the paved road. And then if If you could go back to the file, please, Claire. The reclamation plan maps. So these maps show a little better understanding of the proposed project out there. This is just a general proposed mine location. So currently in the mine location, this is that power line that's running on the north side of the property. So that is within their proposed mine location. Next one. This picture is just showing the topography and kind of how the drainage is on the property. There is some pretty steep elevation, going through that wooded area there, dropping off to the west. This is a picture of the water tables in the area, kind of showing contour lines of what the water table's at. So there's a 1120 and then an 1100 down there. And this is showing kind of the two phases. So like I said, the first phase is on that east side, pretty much in that both agriculture field and grassland area. And then this is just another picture showing the reclamation plan, the slopes in the final plan. I think that's all I got for the initial part. I believe the applicant is here.
Yeah, okay, so we can have the applicant then come up if they want to add thing, and then we'll get some public comment.
Perfect.
So the applicant's here, yeah, okay.
Hello, I'm Ernie Swanson. I'm representative for Nick Walton Properties.
Okay.
So, pretty much everything he went over is correct, obviously. We did talk to Nathan Valgren with Polk Burnett, and they are moving those power lines. They're gonna, I have, work here. I don't know if you want me to pass it around. It's a couple maps.
Are they gonna move it?
They're actually gonna take those power lines out and bury it around roads.
Oh, okay,
So that's all he told us. So
okay. Is that in writing then too, that they're,
I don't have anything in writing. Nick talked to him, but I have maps that he sent us
okay.
that kind of show.
Well, that would help, I guess, too, that we could exhibit that was then presented to us, that was gonna be done.
Yeah, so this is the one that's showing the proposed where they're gonna do it. And
Okay,
then this is the other one just showing.
this is the existing,
Yep,
okay,
yep, and then he put on there that they're taking the poles out.
oh, I see, okay. Permanently retired in 2024. Oh. So if you wanna see
I could
those,
see them when you were.
okay,
Yeah, there's, and that one matches up.
yeah,
Okay.
let's pass that around. We'll use that for an exhibit that we have it then. Power lines. There, I think it, other, on the rec plan, there's two wetlands. Undelineated, they call them, or delineated.
I haven't been there, so I don't know about those. As far as I knew, Nick said that there wasn't any actual wetland there.
They're pretty small, yeah. So, okay. Does, anybody else have any questions? After you see
Is
those.
the house owner occupied?
It's a rental right now, but it is, I'm not sure what the plan is gonna be for the house, but it's gonna stay there. And obviously on the one map, it showed how we're gonna have the banks when we're done. It's not going by the house. It's gonna be west of the house.
Or the berms.
Yeah, and the one in the reclamation maps, there was one. That one kind of shows how we're going around the house. And then it'd be, I think, the next one. One more, that one.
There.
So we're staying obviously away from the house because he's gonna keep all that there.
Okay. Questions on,
The applicant owns the house though, right?
We own the house.
Yep.
yeah.
That's what I
oh,
thought,
yeah.
just making sure.
Yep.
Now, it doesn't show the road going out. Is it going to the north or the existing driveway?
It's out of that map.
Okay,
The existing driveway comes over here and then up. And then our Hall Road's gonna be coming in here. That'll, once we're done and reclaimed, that'll be gone.
okay.
I think I think the first map showed the driveway and the road. Yeah, that one kind of shows it. The driveway actually goes along the blue line.
Okay. All right, because that little chunk you own that too, that.
Yep. Yep.
That couple acres or whatever.
I don't even think it's an acre,
Okay,
but yeah, we own that also.
all right. All right, any questions? Okay, we're good for now. We'll
Okay.
see if there's any public comment. Wants to come up?
Yeah, I've got something.
Come on up, state your name.
You can leave that up, that'd be great. Dave Coleman, during your presentation, there was a couple of things I noticed that you mentioned. One, you mentioned these two homes that were the closest ones. There's also an additional one right here, 1448. And as far as the power lines go, my father did agree to that. Those power lines were servicing his house and others across the road. I think you did speak with Vogren, right? Was it him? Yeah. So we did agree to move those power lines to run on Highway 46. So they're gonna come from the south to the north so that those power lines will be buried that way. I think that we look at it as, and you know, my father and I talked about it a few different times. Power lines are kind of a pain in the butt, especially during storms. So, and I know the power company wanted to stop cleaning out that power line. So we did agree to that. I think that that's moving forward as we speak. I don't think you've received any written information on it yet, have you? No, okay. So that was our first thing. I think there are other homes in the area that are part of this and wanted to make sure that that was part of the record. With that said, on the other screen you had with the topographical map, something I wrote, I think I sent it in Monday night. I did write on there about the slope of the land. This is something that I think that Nick Walton Properties, ownership, and we need to get together on a survey. That was one thing I did bring up. Because the property line is very odd. It's not straight in that arena. The road isn't straight, so everything's kind of cockeyed. And we do have weird elevations through there. I think you brought that up. There's some very steep elevations that really run right on the bottom of the property line up to the top of the property line because it starts, you had a topographical map, I think. Yeah, right about here. So what I'm referencing is, actually, I don't even like that map. If you can go to the next one. Yeah. Let's just leave it here, leave it here. Move that one back. Okay, just so I can work with this one. Right here. Okay, so what I'm referencing is, I know your phase one is gonna be here. Phase two is gonna start digging into that tree line. This area of the east property line and this west property line are fairly even. They're fairly even. However, what happens is when everything starts rolling from this hillside that way, and I think you showed it on your topographical map that everything, water flows towards the north. and towards the, it would be
West.
northwest. You're correct. So it all rolls that way. That property line is so crooked, it runs up the hill. So that's our concern about not damaging our property. So as you start digging into that phase 2 and into the wood line, it just starts rolling everything in that bottom corner. So the top 2 corners are high and everything rolls into the middle. So we're just trying to figure out a way to, one, protect our property as well. Make sure that we don't have any erosion issues. And with that said, it's just a matter of when you start cutting into those hillsides that are probably, I think the elevation, if I remember right, was 1140, 1120 on the bottom end of the property and almost 1180, 1190 at the top end of the property. But that's about a 60-yard, 70-yard drop. It's that steep once you get into those woods. And it's hard to walk at an angle. So I think that, looking at it as far as the phase 2 goes, I think I'm more concerned about the erosion towards our property or damage to our property. And I don't know if I don't know what the setback is on this type of development, or I just don't know if even a setback farther into those tree lines that would help protect an erosion issue. Does that make sense, I hope?
That's the reclamation plan with those berms that they're putting up.
True, but it's still one of those things where I don't know enough I'm an accountant, so it's a little different for me. I'm not a DNR guy or anything like that. So I don't know how, when you put up the berms, if it's really gonna affect down the line. And that's the first thing I would throw out there. And again, I'm not an expert. Those are our concerns and I don't know how to address those concerns. And then I think the other option would be is, are we gonna have any damage to wells in the area? For example, our well water with a couple different gravel pits in the area. So we've got one to the south, we've got some old ones in the area. So those are some of our concerns.
Okay,
All right,
that'll work. Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Anyone else? All right. You want to rebuff to tell them how that's working? for you?
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, boy. You can bring up the slope. It'd be the final reclamation map.
Yeah.
Go scroll down. That one. So phase 1, we're basically splitting the property in half. So this is all gonna be lower than that corner of the property to begin with. And then when we start phase 2, we'll be basically cutting into that from the east. So everything that we do is gonna be internally drained. We're not planning on any water going outside of our property. So as we start mining, we'll be digging down lower than that top corner of the property anyway. So, and then around where we mine, we have to have berms. So our berms are gonna be higher than the ground currently. And then as we start moving, we're gonna just keep moving berms and all that. So we should never have a problem with any drainage going any direction outside of the property.
Okay, because I think the bottom northwest corner is 1140, isn't it? So you're always going to be below that.
We're always gonna be below the surrounding properties, yeah.
Always coming back.
Yep, and then final reclamation, we're lower than that. That's why there's a 3-to-1 slope. That's all that slope is all downhill to
Okay,
what it'll be reclaimed at.
sure.
And during mining, we're always digging, so we're always lower than the surrounding property, and then we berm around our pit.
Okay. All right.
So
Anybody else have a question?
I got,
Oh, okay.
any idea how much you'll have open at any one given time?
we're looking to do 20 acres at a time. Obviously, the first couple of years, it'll
Right.
not be 20 acres, but we'd like to do 20 acres before we start reclaiming. Just because having the haul road and everything on the north side, it'll make it a lot easier for getting material out and stockpiling.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we just go through the standard kind of list of conditions and stuff, sure. If we have any questions on those.
I know Dane had mentioned too, did you want to separate out? I don't know if there is any public hearing for the reclamation plan too? Just,
We could kind of read that one out.
okay,
Let's do that because the first one sounded pretty well done, but the rec plan then let's,
yeah, I guess I don't really have a report on his reclamation plan, but just as far as if there was comments solely on that, not on this application.
okay. Is there any questions on the reclamation plan? Does anybody? I mean, they kind of mixed a little.
Yeah.
He answered them right there. Okay. So I think we're good to kind of move with the conditions and.
Okay, sounds good. If you could pull up the staff report, please, Claire. So for findings of facts, we have, this is a conditional use permit request to operate a non-metallic mine gravel pit in the town of Balsam Lake. This property was rezoned to mining in January 16th of 2024. The parcel is accessed off of 145th Avenue, which is a gravel town road. The existing land is partially field farmland, grassland, and forest. There is another mine to the southeast of this property. Like mentioned, there are 2 undelineated wetlands, but there is no floodplain or navigable waters on site. The reclamation plan has an end land use of passive recreation. The closest non-related residential dwelling to the properties are located to the southwest, approximately 900 feet away. As the comment stated, there is also a dwelling northwest. It was a little further away, but yeah, it's probably 1,000 feet or something. The town of Balsam Lake was provided notice on the CUP, but did not provide any comments on this request. The county did do a proper class 2 legal notice prior to this hearing. Then as far as the staff recommendation, we would recommend granting the conditional use permit if the committee determines that the criteria have been met on the following conditions. And these are the conditions that staff has recommended. But we can discuss them as you could scroll down. Activities must be conducted according to submitted plans, specifications, and narrative unless modified by a condition of this CUP. Hours of operation shall be limited to 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday and 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Saturday, and no operations on Sunday. The owner operator must follow all town, county, state, and federal regulations, including but not limited to MSHA, OSHA, DOT, and DNR. The site reclamation after completion of the mineral extraction shall be performed according to submitted plans and specifications and must conform to all regulations in Chapter 20, mine reclamation of the Polk County ordinances. The extraction area must be surrounded by berms, and the operator shall maintain the berm throughout the duration of the active extraction as submitted. Crushing of natural materials up to 3 times a year. All lighting must be directed into the extraction area and will not be pointed towards the adjacent properties. The operation shall be annually registered with Polk County. The operator shall adhere to all posted road weight restrictions. No mining into the water table. Gated access to the mine. No blasting on site. No asphalt or concrete plant on the mine site. No material from off-site shall be stored on-site, such as concrete, blacktop, culverts, etc. No demolition debris shall be hauled to the site. Trees and clean fill are allowed. We have it right now as up to 5 acres open at a time. I know as the applicant requested 20 acres. Follow all regulations regarding the electrical utility crossing. So that was before we were aware that it is being moved to underground. And then 200 feet of clean rock shall be installed on the driveway for a tracking pad off the property. You guys have any comments or questions on the conditions?
I think in the the rec plan, did he have, not that there is a DNR permit required?
Correct, stormwater,
Even though
yep,
you have all of them named, yeah, he had that name for a storm one,
yep.
okay.
And I know they're working through that, I think currently to get that.
Okay, just so that we know that that's on there. That's pretty much our normal ones, isn't it? You said, 5 acres, you want the 5 or the 20, how are we looking?
We were looking for 20 just
To
because
open up 20?
yeah, we've done 5 so many times in the past and it's just easier to have more open. at a
More
time.
open,
And then the only other thing I question is the crushing up to 3 times a year.
okay, cause what was the other one, 2 times?
I think one of them was 2 times, but it's hard to say, cause I mean, what if we go in there in April and crush till October? Or
One time.
that's one time, right? But there's sometimes where we just do small stockpile of gravel. So there might be a time where like the county might bunch of gravel for a project and if we've already used our 3 times up, then we wouldn't be able to provide that. That's the only thing I question on that one.
I know the application stated 2 to 3 times, so that's kind of where we went with the 3 times, but
So the only other would be 16 is change the 5 to 20?
That would be, yeah, that's the
Okay.
major one.
That would be the major one.
Yeah.
How does everybody feel? Well, Brad has it.
Yeah, I mean, we've been down this road before. We got a gravel pit by us. I mean, 5 acres seems like a lot, but once you start to have to do all this on 5 acres, it's unrealistic. There just
It's pretty
isn't,
tight.
it isn't enough room to do anything. So I don't, in this case, I don't see an issue with,
Changing that to
20 acres.
20, okay, for half of it. So 16 would change to 20.
yeah, but I also think 3 times, to crush 3 times a year is great plenty.
Okay. Otherwise, we're all,
then as far as 17, do you want to
we could probably strike it.
strike it?
It isn't going to really count.
Okay,
Yeah, because if they're moving it completely and they're gonna take the other ones down,
I
it
don't,
won't
I don't
apply.
think, I don't think it hurts anything if it stays either.
Right.
Oh, until it is moved. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't think it, you know, even if they move it, if the fact that it's there, then it's just gonna not really matter. But I think the fact that it's there is
Until it's
is
moved.
okay, at least, yeah, at least until it's moved. Cause,
Sure,
you know, we have things saying it's gonna move, but does it move?
yeah,
Right.
okay. Yeah, so I think that, yeah. All right. So pretty much then it's all the standard.
Yep.
Things that we do. So is there any other questions then or anything?
There's no cost to any other property owners for moving that electrical line, is there?
I do not know.
I think it's based on.
Shouldn't be, it should be the utilities. I mean, because what they gotta maintain the
Right.
line to your
Property line.
property, to your meters, so I don't, whether they clean that out and put new poles in, or they put it underground, that should, on the utility.
That should be on the utility. I guess we don't have that control. Okay. All right.
yeah, and that's probably where it's good to leave it in there in case they decide they don't want to move, yeah. move it
Or
or
it's to
something.
get moved right over,
Yep.
something, yeah. Okay. All right, then, are we good? We'll probably close it, the public hearing and then just go through findings of fact.
Yeah,
This is kind of the same,
yeah, I did the findings of facts up
so,
top there.
okay. All right, so we should be able to close it then, the public hearing. 10 o'clock. All right. Then if there's any discussion or anything, or not, we kind of went through everything. If we have it in a motion to go either way.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve,
I'll second it.
Tracy, seconded by Brad. Is there any other comments? Hearing none, then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So that moves forward. Oh, yeah. All right. Okay. We're down to review rules of order.
Hey.
Yay.
So it's in your packet. And you can see the red line changes. One of the things. So what happened was Shabana and I went through the entire rules of order. From beginning to end, and it's on every committee's agenda so that you can look specifically at the committee, at the part of the rules of order that applies to the committee. This isn't a time to look at the rest of it, so that's why just what we're looking at today. One of the unique things about this committee is that it's a 6-person committee, not a 5. So if everybody is in attendance, you have a higher chance than other committees of having a tie. So normally, in Robert's Rules of Order, a tie is a denial. And that's normally fine if you're just talking about motions and resolutions, because it just then kills that motion and resolution. But here you're dealing with conditional use permits. So then a tie is a more difficult, because you either need to, under the statute, grant it or deny it affirmatively. So is there something that you want to do where the chair breaks the tie kind of thing? So whatever the chair thinks wins, something for you to think about. Again, if you
It's a vote anymore.
or you could, yeah, you could say that vote, if it results in a tie, will be discounted because he's not an elected official, he's appointed. So that would be another
But
way.
it was still far related, about 99% of the stuff. So it's kind of, that would be a catch-22.
It's kind of much ado about nothing, because let's say a couple of you are absent, you still have a quorum and you've got 4 people. So any committee could deal with a tie if they only have an even number of people attending that meeting and it still is a quorum. You just have a higher chance because your full committee is 6. So if you had any recommendations or thoughts on how to address that.
So in Robert's rules, they usually have then the chair doesn't vote
Right.
unless it's that, and he breaks the tie. Is
Right.
that,
Yeah,
should we just revert back to their rules kind of?
I think so.
That would mean that you would be the last person to vote on anything, and assuming that you are still the chair.
Yeah,
next month.
but I mean, that would be in every committee, whoever the chair is.
Yep.
That would be how.
Yep.
I think if we go by Robert's rules, it would help. If not, I don't know, or otherwise draw a number out of the hat. You don't get the vote today.
Because what could happen then, right, Supervisor O'Connell, is, let's say there was a very controversial conditional use permit application that came before the committee, and you had a very strong feeling about it. And everyone voted, and, with you not voting, it would result in the result that you didn't want. But if you voted, it would result in a tie. So you'd have to abstain in a lot of cases. That might be difficult if you have a strong viewpoint on a particular issue.
Well, we're supposed to be neutral until we hear.
So, yeah,
I think I don't know how else you would,
So I'm gonna go the other way.
okay.
I think only in that case of the tie vote, because the chair is an elected official, that then the ag representative, whoever it is at any given time, is the one that doesn't count.
Oh, okay.
And there again, I only go that route because it's not an elected,
Yeah.
Technically, it is elected.
well, technically it is.
well, it's elected by the board.
No, it's elected actually through,
Oh, you have your,
yeah.
Yes, their own election to get to be here, yes.
and it's not an election, it's an election of your organization,
No,
right?
so it would be an election of the egg producers in my area.
Right.
Yeah,
So it's not elected by the people at large.
Not a people. at
No,
large.
so correct.
It would be your organization having then
So at the end of the day, though, how can
Yeah.
you tell somebody, so how can you decide, when do you decide what you can vote on and what you can't? Because if it comes back to a tie vote, oh, your vote doesn't count, so then you go back to what the vote was. And hypothetically, it can still be a tie vote. Back to your point, what are the other committees doing for that,
Well,
where they come
again,
to a tie vote?
it doesn't,
That's why we should revert to Robert's rules.
right, it
because
doesn't
we're
impact
not
other
our own
committees,
chair.
because if there's a motion to move a resolution to the county board with a recommendation. And that results in a tie vote. So that fails. So then somebody makes another motion. I move that we move it to the county board with a neutral recommendation, and that one passes. So they can just keep doing it, where you guys, if you've got a conditional use and it fails, because it's a tie, you know it's gonna be a tie. It's not like you're gonna then motion to deny it. It's still gonna be a tie. So there's no mechanism in other committees.
Well, and if somebody's absent.
We'll have to work harder.
So if we had 2 people missing, we still have a quorum
Right,
at 4.
right.
So it could still happen. So I think that's why we should, isn't Robert's rules have something on that kind of, that the chair would have to abstain or whatever?
I think in normal Robert's rules,
When you have
the
a.
chairman doesn't vote in the normal voting process.
But that's at the
Yeah.
board level, not at your
Yeah,
seconds,
at this level.
because then one voice is never heard unless there's a need to break a tie.
Yeah.
And in this committee, there would, in theory, fully staffed would never be a tie if the chair didn't vote.
Right.
Where other committees, there would
So
be.
you'd be really taking the power of the chair away to impact direct policy, because when you're addressing resolutions, that's fine, because you'll always have that live to fight another day at county board. When you're deciding conditional use permits, you're deciding them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so something that goes to the board, like you said earlier, we just send it without a recommendation.
Right.
We can't agree, and it goes to the board and the
It's no
board
big deal.
decides at the end of the
Yeah.
day, which they're going to no matter what.
right.
We're here today. If we're 3-3, that makes,
Makes it a little tough on that conditional use, yeah.
yeah.
Ooh.
You got it right. A fight.
Yeah. Ooh, that's gonna be a tough one, kind of, isn't it?
I mean, it hasn't come up. You know, it's an issue that could be an issue, but really hasn't
You need a 3-minute.
impacted your conditional uses, at least in my recent memory. But it's definitely a potential. And when we've got, public hearings that last 3 days on a very, controversial issue, that could really be a problem. So having something in your rules so that there's a resolution when there's a tie, there's some way to knock out a vote
Knock out a vote.
is a good
I
idea.
have to retake it, or if I tell them to vote that way, they have to quit. I tried that once, it didn't work.
So can we have a 5-minute break so I can get some clarification from legal counsel?
Sure. Yes, we can have a 5-minute break.
Okay.
But what if that means I have to use the restroom?
Tough luck.
You've got 2 minutes.
Go fast.
Beeping and stuff, it's gonna go, okay. I need a little mirror here, so. What else did you want to change? Oh, she got us riled up on that one. I looked at number 9, it's the one I want. That we do some of this. Do we, in our rules, can we set up a time for like the ordinance update season? Which we would do it mainly. I mean, can we do like a November to May or November to April? That is the preferred time to be doing it, so we're not doing it year round. That's kind of what we're doing internally now as a policy. But could we add that in there? Not, or shouldn't we?
That's just your feeling.
Directed at Malia or something.
I had whoever dares.
But I mean, if we put it in there, that would, I mean,
Hold us to
it would limit it to that time of the year, would it not?
No, it wouldn't limit it. It would be, that would be the normal time. I mean, if anything else came up, you would do it. I mean, we just have to word it right. But the recommendations for this administrated through would usually be from November to May or something, or November to April. Something like that we try to do it to keep it, so we give it a season, so people know that.
So it would, yeah, so I think I get where you're coming at.
See where I'm trying
You're
to.
saying, put it there so that everybody knows it. I mean, internally, we're doing it anyway.
Internally, we do it, but everybody says, well, I didn't know.
But you're saying if it's there, then everybody would know
That's.
in theory that,
In theory, that's when we try to do the biggest amount of work on ordinances.
Right. So are you talking about then prohibiting the committee from taking up
No,
but just saying in general?
we recommend, but that, we would have that's why I'm trying to figure out the wording for. But to set a time to say like November to April.
That's a long time. I would say November, December, January, February, like have like at least a.
4 months is all, okay.
I mean, just because, this year.
Trying to do it to get in front of the building season usually, but start at the end of one.
Honestly, Kim, the reason we put ordinance amendment season as a thing was because you wanted to change ordinances at every meeting all year long. And so it was really a control on you guys, but.
Well, it
but yeah.
was because it was something every meeting.
somebody would come and ask us to change. So
Somebody would come
I think,
in.
because I think I get where you're going is we put it in there. And if there's some sort of emergency, we can look at it
Right.
anytime.
Well, if the
But
state
just
changes.
stating the fact that this is when we're gonna do it. I think it's gotta be 5 months regardless of when it
Whether
is,
it's in
because,
Or in your.
because they disappear in a hurry.
Yeah.
It would control a future committee, if there's changes on the committee and limit them, because if you only leave it like in a work plan, that can be changed willy-nilly throughout the year. So it would be a good potential check. So I have a Word version of the document. I'll put some language in there.
Put some language that
I mean, I think if we're,
I understand the theory of what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay.
if we're just recommending that that's when it is or something,
Yeah.
you can.
As a general rule, ordinance amendments will be only considered during this time, absent some exigent circumstances.
So it would at least be after the state fiscal year and stuff in October and all that. I mean, we ought to just get past those, when there's kicks in and the federal one. They all July 1st and October 1st, if we can get by those.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we do that, I would think that's kind of, we could fall back on that so somebody doesn't come out. Like right now in April, we get all new people and they all want to change half the ordinances right away. Hey, we gotta, you gotta sit down and think about it. Boom, boom, boom. And you gotta tell the members to decide.
I can see that's just what Sarah's looking for.
Yeah, I
A
know.
whole new board in 6 weeks that wants to change everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brad,
That's what we're looking for.
Well, it tied up a lot of our meetings up. Look at the tourist road
Yeah.
house, whatnot, just endless.
Yeah.
So it does, it's, what it prevents is the second meeting.
It's just putting in words what we're doing as a
Yeah.
committee right now.
Yes, okay.
Hey, Kim, with number 9, where it says small wind energy system, should that be changed to small renewable energy systems?
Because it would be,
Just renewable.
solar farms too would be at, so we have a solar,
Well,
small
Because
energy.
if it's over 100 megawatt, right, we can't touch
We
it
can't
anyway.
touch it.
Right.
So going kind of with what was set up, I mean,
Well, it should just be small energy system.
Small renewable energy system.
Yeah.
Yep.
And take out wind, because solar and whatever else they come up with, sure.
so you're gonna doctor that up?
Mhm. Nope, my red light version doesn't have it. That changes the way it is.
How about the extension? If we don't have extension, we don't need that anymore, or do we still? Are they under us?
I think so. Don't do anything with them.
well, the egg side of it's gone, but we still have the 4-H side, but does that go to a different committee?
General government, because they're an outside agency that we fund,
Oh,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
okay. I thought I had a piece of extension within.
So that's number 7.
It did when there wasn't,
In general government. related to agri.
Oh, yeah, but we are taking that out.
Yeah,
And versus
seven.
extension, I know,
Right.
which is why. So,
unless that statute says we have to take it,
right, if there was the ag extension agent,
If it
Then
was,
we
if we brought it back again, this
Yep.
is where. it
then
would
we.
be.
this is
that's
where it
where
would be
we-
housed, correct,
Okay.
yes.
So number 7,
Just
we
leaving it.
strike. Okay,
No, you don't strike,
No, it stays there in case it ever
Stays
comes
there.
back.
They're in.
because that statute refers specifically to that program within extension, not total
but
extension.
it should say that ag or something because it.
Well, the
just says
statute-
The whole program. Just says extension program as established.
Right, and that program as established is the ag program.
Yeah.
So that
Only-
statute is, I see what you're saying, if somebody first,
Each goes to general government, but if they're under, I think they're under,
not just the ag extension,
so
we don't
put
have
ag
any.
there. We should have ag. in
Well, the
somewhere.
statute that is referenced there is specifically talking to the ag program.
Put ag in here. anyway, So
Okay.
we know, okay, that's why I'm arguing, because it's not clear. I would have to look that up.
You would have to look that up and that would be hard.
Yes, it would. So for.
We'll fix it.
It's there.
Leah, it's easier to agree with him than fight this battle.
Yeah, I don't have a Word version current up, so I'm gonna get it from Shabana and I'll make those changes. Ag.
And then every other one's gonna,
He wants the word
and
ag.
these are all just recommendations, aren't they, to go to
That
the,
you'll make to the full.
Yeah.
Yep.
okay. Our committee's pretty light right there. Didn't have to change much.
And did you decide no county board supervisor, non-county board supervisors won't be counted if it resulted in a tie? We're doing that?
Oh, I don't know. I think we better look at the Robert's rules first.
Thank you for
before we
the
do that.
Robert's rules.
Robert, so you'd rather have the chair's vote not count?
Oh, this, I don't know, this is a bad one.
That's a tough one, yeah. Well, the other thing is, we just have somebody not show up at each meeting, so it's fine.
Well, you have to tell me, I mean, if you decide.
I think because it is not necessarily an FSA representative anymore that sits in that seat. I think that's the way it needs to be. I think if, yeah, as much as I don't like it, there's no win in this situation. There's-
And hopefully it never comes up.
Right. I mean, I don't see there's a losing situation no matter how we do it as far as I'm concerned. But I guess that's gonna be my thought is that it's the ag representative in a tie vote. It's their vote that doesn't count over the chairman's, regardless of if that's 2 months from now or 20 years from now, that it,
Sure.
Does it go from a voice vote to a ballot vote then in that case?
It would if it tied, you would have to do that then. And start the vote over. I mean, if we voted right now and it was 3-3, you'd have to stop, start over then. And his vote wouldn't count, then the 5 of us would vote.
Okay.
Would that be right?
Well, I mean, you're a small committee and if you know that he was the one,
He voted one way or another, just eliminate that one. It swings the other way.
Yeah.
but if you're saying, all those in favor say aye and you don't know who said aye, is that what you're kind of
Okay.
saying?
All right, yeah. I was just saying, we would have to probably take a second vote.
That's probably the cleanest because then.
First, I got to tell them the vote was me, so it passes. See, I tried that. It didn't work. So that's why we got to do this.
So, okay, so.
what if you were already voting the same way, Kim?
I know.
Right, we got to spin it.
You
There's
just
no
cancel
way
each
that
other
would
then,
work.
right?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a bad deal either way, but
Yeah.
that's my thought.
So the non-elected, he's elected, but how do you put it?
Non-county board elected,
Non-public elected?
non-county
Non-county
board.
County board.
Okay.
Non-county board.
Non-county board. Okay.
They've never had to worry.
And we're the only one with that, aren't we? The only
Probably
committee
very,
that's- Well, no,
probably may never happen, but
but you got Health and Human Services. You got a lot of them on there that aren't. How many doctors and nurses are on that?
Yeah, because
They
that's
vote.
10 members,
Yeah,
something like that.
how many of them can't vote too then? So that could get interesting how they want that.
let's look at their section. Typically, not everyone's there.
Yeah,
I don't know if they.
because that's the other one that would really apply, because it doesn't apply to general government. It wouldn't.
We're ever voting on anything. Just trying to think of something. I don't. Leah, do you remember if we ever voted in Health and Human? I don't think we ever voted on anything.
There were no, Bonna and I had made some preliminary changes and I don't think anyone had anything to add. So you were just kind of, yeah,
Resolutions for
it was like a consent,
Yeah, I guess we do that.
the vote resolutions.
Yeah.
but
I don't.
I'll make the changes. I don't think you need to vote. Everybody's in generalized agreement, right?
No, for this to move forward, okay.
Yeah. What we're doing, what Siobhan and I are doing is taking every piece from every committee and then at the full board, it'll be all of it. So I'm just gonna incorporate for the full board talked about today.
So now, what happens if there's something on the agenda? And I don't want to talk about it, so I skip it. What
You mean
happens
like a
then?
resolution or
Anything.
just a topic? You're,
Say I didn't say I wanted to skip number 10 today, and I just said, well, nobody brought it up. Number 11, we just keep moving.
no, you set
Can
the,
you not do that?
you set the agenda as the chair, so it's your agenda. If nobody moves to amend the agenda to strike something,
You should look at it.
yeah.
All right. So go back and look at Health and Human Services when they skipped one.
What did they skip?
They skipped the fentanyl strip one.
They didn't skip
They didn't
it.
skip it.
No one made a motion to bring it to the floor for discussion.
Okay,
So they addressed it, but
They brought it up, nobody
They
made a
brought it up,
motion and they
no
moved
one
on.
so we need a motion to bring anything up on our agenda today, if nobody brings it
Chair.
up.
You as chair can bring it up and say, okay, we're now, or you can say, I'll entertain a motion to bring it to the floor. So it's you as chair, how you run your meeting. I totally understand. I'm smelling what you are stepping in.
Well, yeah, I'm stepping in it deep because I can just say, I'm gonna skip it.
No, you can say, I will entertain a motion, and if nobody makes a motion, you can move on.
And you've never made a motion to bring something up before.
But you as the chair decide whether you're just,
At that
You're
meeting, at that time,
chair,
I can
right.
decide that.
Mhm.
So,
That's
But what if
well, if something's controversial, or I can, the meeting, I can just say, I don't think we should even look at that. Somebody doesn't even have to make the motion. No, everybody just sits silent and we skip it.
you have to at either call it to the floor yourself as
That
chair.
wasn't called to the floor, if I
No,
remember.
listen, Linda, you have to either call it to the floor, or if you're not willing, because chair, you don't want to address it, you have to say, I will entertain a motion to call it to the floor. If somebody else is gonna, you have to do one of those two things. You either call it to the floor as chair, or you ask for a motion to bring it to the floor. If neither one of those things happen, you move to the next.
Okay. I'll test it one day.
Oh, I know you will. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, you are.
April.
doesn't make a difference.
Well, yeah, I mean, a committee cannot kill a resolution. So if if it goes to a committee and
I
a
know
committee
that,
doesn't
see,
address
but
it,
that's
still-
basically what they did. They did no recommendation, nothing. And our rules of order say it has to go through a committee.
right, so it went through that committee.
So it didn't go through a committee. It didn't
Well,
do
it,
anything.
it went through a committee so that you wouldn't
That
need a
isn't-
2/3
No
vote.
discussion is not coming through a committee. I mean, that, we should do that in our rules of order. You at least have to discuss it.
Yeah, yep.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do see what you're saying.
Because it.
But a
went through the
committee-
Committee,
A
So-
committee, it's black letter law and Robert's rules. A committee cannot kill.
a resolution, correct. But they did,
If they don't bring it up, then eventually, if no committee takes up the resolution, it'll go to the county board or committee of the whole for discussion and
Yeah.
then come out of committee of the whole for it. So then that would be the committee that would, it would gone through the entire board.
a roundabout way to, yes. But that,
Eventually it'll get there, but
eventually, but that's how they were killing other deals. I mean, I just happened to take that one because it happened. We had some other ones before
Yeah,
that.
no,
You said that people could not get their resolutions to the board because the committees would not look at them.
right. And that was a problem
That was,
years ago.
yes, that was a huge problem.
And that was then addressed.
Because remember, nobody could get a resolution to a committee, then they couldn't get it, then they went right.
Right, it was like killing it before there was even a vote,
Yeah.
which, then we'd be like the federal government or something.
Yeah. Okay. That might get addressed in a few of the other ones. That, if they ask that.
Yeah, no, I
To
don't
kind of
agree that it's,
keep our resolutions, because that was a big fight.
yeah, if that went into the rules of order, that a resolution at a committee must be debated, cannot be, that change could be made to the rules of
Well,
order.
it's looked at. I mean, not just skipped over and just, because they can deny it, do whatever. All you have to do is say, we don't want to talk about it, but we're not moving on with no recommendation
Right,
or we're against it.
right.
And not just skip a thing.
Yeah, that would be in that section governing how a resolution.
Moves forward in our system. Yeah. Maybe that could help that a little. All right. Number 11.
You're really comfortable sitting here. The whole discussion with Malia just happened here. Is it okay if I just stay right here?
Yes.
Okay, good. Then I can use my computer. I don't have a lot today. We have our March seems to be the month where we have a lot of conferences and things going on in Madison. Land and Water Resources staff is down attending, some headed out today, attending the 71st Annual Land and Water Resources Conference, Land and Water Conference. Land information was last week. And so that's kind of going on right now in the office. The entire team is working on, or each individual department is working on their annual reports. The Horse Creek Area Farmer-Led Watershed Council is hosting their annual workshop. I don't know if anybody's ever gone to that, but this year it's on April 4th. I have flyers in the office if you're interested in that. And then the one other piece on the Land and Water Department side is the Farmland Preservation Plan update is moved to that April meeting. So you'll stay tuned for that. The BOA is going to be holding a meeting on the 21st. That is going to be regarding the remand. Help me, Malik. The remand of the Blue Rock Quarry. So the judge remanded it back to the Board of Adjustment. On the 21st, if your phones ring, just so you know, it's not a public hearing. It's just a public meeting. And they're going to be deciding the direction and the way they'll proceed from there. It sounds like they have 3 different options, and they'll make their decision. But just so you know, that's a public meeting, kind of to decide next steps from that remand from Circuit Court. Do you guys have any questions on that right away before I move on? Or is there anything that you want to?
Do we have to notify that if enough of us are coming, county board, if we're there at a public meeting?
Yeah, we can notice a potential quorum.
Of the whole board, would you? Just in case.
Okay. Okay.
21st, where's that at?
Here upstairs,
Mhm.
Upstairs here, okay.
um,
Clock,
9 o'clock.
usual, okay.
All right. So there's that. And then we hired a zoning compliance technician. They will begin on April 1st. In the office, Winter will be making the move into the zoning technician role, basically making a geographic move from where she sits now in the front, around the corner to where Logan used to sit. And then we'll likely be moving forward with the hiring of an administrative specialist that will sit in the front and handle the office that way. So we're getting there. All departments, or we're also hiring a NG 911 GIS intern to assist with that NG 911 data requirement this summer. That was through the grant, 95% funded. So we're moving forward with that. Other than that, we're month 3 is going okay so far.
When are they fixing the phone tree?
Are we fixing the phone tree?
Are you gonna fix that?
Every day, working on it every day.
Are you?
Okay.
24 calls yesterday, couldn't get through. His own. 24
You
call.
brought it up and I was like, that thing has just been.
In winter, I finally had to pop through. She said it's the first time I called all day. It was 45 minutes.
Kidding.
I just kept hitting different buttons. I tried everything in the world, but it wouldn't go through.
We've been quicker to drive up here, Kim.
Yeah.
I was getting tempted. I even
My-
Bob Karsmarski, because that's where your phone came up when I hit the wrong Bob. And I even talked to him and he was laughing over in Barrett. That's how many calls I made.
Maybe we could have talked about that outside the meeting.
Yeah,
No,
we'll
that's
follow
something
up.
everybody should know. That's something everybody should know, but
No, but-
so it isn't just me, because I've had other people say too, it just, they can't
Yeah.
get through. So it is something we gotta figure out somehow.
Maybe we need to cut down the tree.
I think one or two.
And is that through IT?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just been,
I'm so frustrated with it.
it's, I mean, they give me their personal phone so you can call them to get an inspection. They shouldn't. have
Yeah,
to.
but you still.
And they shouldn't have.
No, it shouldn't.
How are we coming along on Summers Lake MOU with the equestrians? Is that moving forward? Do we know, or?
The last I heard was that there's gonna be a meeting with, Paulette.
Yeah.
Yes, but with, Chris and, Paulette and Rod and Brent and Tony and myself. That's the last I heard.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Right.
I'm just not, just trying to identify,
Go, Malia, get the day.
trying to identify roles. Like, I'm not sure, if I need to set that up or not, but that's the last I heard on that supervisor roles.
Yeah, they're looking at both at Summers Lake and seeing what amenities the horse organizations would like up there and what can be done up there. And then they were gonna present that to the Public Works, Public Safety Committee once they had their meetings.
So you'll get it first. Okay. there. That policy generator.
And what number do you call when you call up here right away? Can you just tell me? I'm sorry.
59279. Been there for 20 years.
Thanks.
That's what I have to write on all my paperwork too.
Is that the main?
Then it says go one, I hit one, but then if you go to leave a message, cut you off, then you gotta start all the
But
way
if
over.
if you click one, what happens?
When I click one, goes into somebody's voicemail. Sometimes it doesn't even say who it is sometimes. So your name doesn't even come up on the phone tree. So I can't even get you. That's why I have to call that Bob.
That's by design, but other than.
I
that,
know.
I think it's so
When
frustrating.
I hit 3, I hit 4. I tried to get Winter. I left a message. I came right in there and she goes, she didn't get the message, anything.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is. Yeah, I got my deal on my check marks of how many times I sat and called. I just worked.
I refuse to have them.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
but it isn't just me. I have other guys and other people have
Oh, no,
called that
I've
just
had
can't
people
get through.
too.
It's just,
You give them that number to call.
and the worst, well, then you come in and
Nobody
she sits right there. And she is there. There's somebody sitting there. What is it ringing? Yeah, so it's tied up somewhere. All right. Did Mr. Anderson have anything except for the farmland for us on your updates?
Nope.
Okay. Do we have any CUPs coming up for that meeting or not either? Okay,
No, we have one district change right now on the April 3rd meeting.
on the April one, okay. The tax deed stuff, how do we even? We're just gonna get an update, a list of what it is,
Yeah, we can have Amanda come in, but
because we're just,
there's some movement towards a legislative fix to the,
260,
so,
yeah.
I think we're all just kind of in that hurry up and wait.
Yeah, because that's still that 5-year, whatever, okay. Did the BOA review of BOA cases for
So
April?
is there any chance that fix happens in the next 2 weeks, or it hasn't been through the assembly? Because I mean, they're out, so,
Yeah, no.
so it's not a
Bob-
fix this spring.
Yeah, it's a lobbying effort that's having some traction, but
Okay,
yeah, we're not.
But I think, was she gonna give us the list? We know how many are on
Yeah,
it and
and
stuff,
where, and
just
who's paid
to
and
know what.
yeah.
Kind of have that list so we know where we're at. Okay, are we gonna do that BOA review cases or not? On that one? I see that's on our work plan.
Hold on, let me get to your work. plan.
If it's not on the agenda, I guess I would.
In April, actually, the same review of BOA cases.
April,
Yeah.
sure.
And the reason for that is if they're all one way, that's where you change the ordinance, if it's all.
Are you reviewing the work plan and identifying right now? Is that?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Sorry.
You said you were done.
Yes, I am. In March, you have a tree replacement schedule / timber sales. It's kind of been brought to my attention that should be tree planting / timber sales, not necessarily
For
so
next year.
for future, for maybe the clerk, just to make that note that it's not a replacement schedule, it's a tree planting schedule.
Okay.
But then, yeah, for April, we have tax deed listing review. We're gonna have our the farmland preservation plan
Yep.
update. And
So where it says appointments in that, are we gonna have a second meeting after the election then?
Well, it depends. So it's in both places in April and May, depending upon whether you have a second meeting. If you have a second meeting, it would be the new committee and then you'd need to, if you don't have a second meeting. So that's why it's in
The
both.
second meeting would have to be after the full board meeting to know who,
Right.
what committees and stuff. Okay, so it might not
yeah,
happen, all
Yep.
right. You said you had a district change too for that? April?
yes, April 3rd. Yep.
Okay. Good. Anything else? If not, we'll go to number 13, the updates.
So next week, there's scheduled to be an oral ruling from Judge Tolan on the Wisconsin Realtors claim against the county regarding our ordinances. If you recall, I filed a motion to dismiss, questioning whether or not they had standing. And then we briefed it and we had oral argument, and it was scheduled, I believe, in January.
Yeah.
And then the judge removed, it was scheduled for an oral ruling in January. The judge removed it from his calendar. I think he had other cases that had stricter timeframes that he needed to handle. So everyone is invited to come. We'll do another notice of potential quorum. It is next week on Thursday at 1:30 in Branch 1.
Okay.
Obviously, there is a chance that the judge could remove it from the calendar if he has something else pressing come up. I'll do my best to communicate with everybody if that happens. But right now, I would encourage this committee to show up. I mean, he's already gonna have his decision, but you know, maybe he'll change his mind at the last minute if he was intending on ruling against us when faced with a bunch of elected officials. Anyway,
It's interesting. Bayfield and Sawyer have some of the same ones. I wonder, so is our decision gonna decide the whole state? When he does that, does he know that?
Yeah, really.
well, this is just the motion to dismiss, so
Okay,
if my argument was, hey, it's not the Realtors Association that has the right to bring this claim against the county. It would be the individual property owners that
Sure.
are impacted by the ordinances themselves. That was my argument. It's a good argument, you know, but
Well, why would he rule against us if you made a good argument?
I mean,
yeah, judge, yeah.
judges are gonna do. I mean, I have a ton of respect for.
But I
Judge
went through
Bolton, so I think he'll make a very reasoned decision.
Bayfield, Sawyer, a lot of those have the backlot stuff and all the stuff we have, they have that in there.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of counties and municipalities that
Right?
the Realtors Association is going after for
Yeah.
similar things, so. And then, as Sarah indicated, I guess the other legal update is Judge Tolan did basically ruled that he could not review the decision of this committee to grant the conditional use permit for the Blue Rock Quarry because the Board of Adjustment had not ruled. In other words, the stipulation to skip the Board of Adjustment and go directly to the circuit court, Judge Tolan said, now I need something from the Board of Adjustment. So that's why it's remanded. That's why we've got the meeting on the 21st. I'm going to argue to the Board of Adjustment because I won't be there representing them. I'm representing you. I'm going to argue that their options are to summarily affirm your decision. Just get it up there. They can, of course, hold a brand new public hearing and have, 3 days of their lives sitting in a room listening to people talk about the quarry, or they could review your record that you created with all of the exhibits and make a decision based upon that. Those are going to be the 3 options that I suggest to the Board of Adjustment. And that's on the 21st. And obviously, you're welcome to come to that as well.
That's on the 21st too? They're both on the 21st?
No,
No, the other one's
Poland,
Thursday.
14th. So you just get to spend 2 fantastic Thursdays with me in a row. And nothing on the sour.
Really?
I know, shocking.
I know, I've been down, he won't even let me in the building.
The 14th is at 9 o'clock.
No, the 14th is at 1:30.
And the 21st.
And it- The 21st is at 9 in this building. It says that the hearing from Judge Tolan is by Zoom. That's probably because the Realtors Association attorney is from Milwaukee and is going to appear by Zoom. So I can also, if you're not able to attend in person, share that Zoom information. But I have to let you know, there have been times when the judges only only accept certain people into the Zoom meeting. So you'd be risking him not clicking on you and then not being able to listen.
So they're already scared because they're zooming. They can't even send the guy up in person. So they're cheaping it up pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean, the attorney for the Realtors Association is from some big law firm down in Milwaukee.
I can't afford to send them up here. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Nowhere to stay
Yeah.
in Taj Mahal.
So we should be good then, huh? Jump to number 14.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Oh.